Welcome back friends to another session of finite element methods for fluid dynamics. So far we have looked at steady state problems in one dimension, in multi dimensions. We have also looked at how to use higher order shape functions, and we also looked at numerical integration. Today we want to start looking at unsteady problems. So we will take a toy problem of unsteady heat conduction and then see how we develop a finite element method for that. So let us start with a time dependent problem. So let me motivate this for you. We will just look at a simple problem in heat conduction. But of course the ideas that we look at, they would be applicable to other disciplines also, for example fluid mechanics or structural mechanics. So what could cause unsteadiness? Let us look at many scenarios. I could have a situation where of course my boundary conditions, they are unsteady, in the sense that suppose I look at a bar, a one dimensional bar, and this is heated and this one is possibly adiabatic. So the heat flux is 0. I could take an example. And here the temperature at the boundary, which I can call T0, is actually a function of time. So I could have a situation where this temperature is changing with time. This is 0 heat flux condition, and therefore this would be an example of an unsteady phenomena. I could also have a situation where of course my domain could be changing. So it is possible that my domain changes. You could think of something like a process of casting, okay, where of course the equations would be more complicated. It is not just conduction, there is convection as well, but then you have a container in which there is a melt and the melt solidifies, and therefore your domain itself could change. Okay. So here we have a situation where omega and gamma are functions of time. This could be another possibility. Of course you could have another possibility where the boundary conditions do not change, the domain does not change, but the phenomena is itself intrinsically unsteady. And you very well know such things happen very often in fluid mechanics. For example, vortex shedding past a cylinder. So I could have a situation where I have a uniform flow past a circular cylinder, and then I could get vortex shedding. So here the domain is not changing with time, the boundary conditions are not changing with time, and yet there is an unsteadiness. Okay. I could also have a situation where of course the boundary conditions are unsteady, but in a manner that they are flipping between gamma g and gamma h interchange. So what could happen is, perhaps I can look at this problem again, where there was a plate or a uniform, a one dimensional bar that was being heated, and this was adiabatic, and then after some time I kind of swapped the two. This side became adiabatic and I started heating this one, and I could generalize this to 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions, and that would also lead to an unsteadiness, and it is a physical problem that we can solve. Of course these could be very complicated, but we are going to make some assumptions and look at only some of the situations. So what we are going to assume in our analysis is the following, that gamma and omega do not change with time. In fact, in fluid mechanics, these problems are extremely important. For example, fluid structure interaction. I could have a situation where maybe a flag is fluttering because of a breeze, and there the domain itself is changing, the geometry of the flag is changing. Or maybe I could have a balloon where somebody is inflating it, so the shape of the balloon changes with time. The analysis that we are going to do will assume that omega and gamma, therefore, so this is the domain and that is the boundary, they do not change with time. This itself is complicated enough. Towards the end, I will show you some examples on how to even relax these kind of conditions. We are also going to assume something about gamma g and gamma h. If you recall that gamma was given as a union of gamma g and gamma h. So, this is the boundary part where we specified a Dirichlet condition, and over here we specified a Neumann condition. We are going to assume gamma g remains gamma g and gamma h remains gamma h. There is no interchange between the kind of boundary conditions that are being applied. So, coming back to this example, if I have a Dirichlet boundary condition, the value of the boundary condition may change. So, the temperature is allowed to change, but it will remain a Dirichlet boundary condition forever. Similarly, if I had an adiabatic condition or maybe a specified heat flux, so the heat flux specification condition remains. Of course, the amount of heat flux we will allow that to vary with time if needed. Okay. So, under these assumptions, we are going to now set up the equations, and I am going to demonstrate to you how we can apply finite element method to that. So, let us realize that we are really talking about parabolic equations, in the sense that if we are looking at the heat equation, and if I look at the one dimensional heat equation, then the time and space make it parabolic. Okay. Of course, if I go to higher dimensions, maybe 2 or 3 dimensions, then the conduction part of it, the spatial part of it is elliptic, but then the interplay between the time and the space, that would still remain parabolic. So, it is in that sense we are looking at these equations. So, now all data is function of time and space. So, this is the first change that we see. So, kindly recall that F was the heat source. When we talked about the steady state problem, F was defined on a spatial domain. Now, it will be defined on a spatio-temporal domain. So, to be more explicit, I am going to write it like this, that F is defined on this domain omega and a time domain which is 0 to t, and this of course is a real valued function. So, this part is the spatial domain and this here is the temporal domain, or this is the time axis. So, all quantities will now be given in this form. For example, if I look at U, which is my temperature, again it is going to be given as, it is defined on the space domain omega, the time t, and of course we will assume that it is real valued. All right, let us look at some other quantities which we are going to use. So, the boundary data that we have used before, for example, G is the Dirichlet value of the boundary condition. So, that is defined on gamma G, and on the time axis, and of course this also is real valued, and likewise h is gamma h defined on the interval 0 to t, and this is real valued as well. We will also now need an initial condition. Because now we are going to have time dependent description. So, in the context of a heat conduction problem, we need to know that at T equal to 0, what exactly is the temperature everywhere. So, we are going to use a quantity u0, and we will say that u0 is defined on this domain omega, and it is a real valued function. So, this is u0 is the initial temperature on the entire domain omega. In fact, now there is going to be something interesting. So, if I look at a domain omega, let us say this is my domain omega and this is my boundary gamma. The boundary gamma is split into two parts. So, I could call this part as gamma h, and the remaining part, let me call this as gamma g. I am going to specify the temperature on gamma g and the heat flux on gamma h, and at T equal to 0, I am saying I will specify the temperature everywhere. In principle, there could be an inconsistency in the sense that at T equal to 0, I am specifying the temperature everywhere, but then I am also specifying the boundary conditions, and I could ask myself that do the boundary conditions have to satisfy the initial condition. So, we will assume they have to. Okay. So, so to keep matters simple, we will assume that at T equal to 0, we will only specify the temperature on omega without the bar. So, it is the open spatial domain, and as far as the boundary conditions are concerned, they still remain intact as they have been specified, and that is why we would maintain consistency. We are also going to use some additional quantities for setting up the unsteady problem. So, we will introduce the concept of density, which we did not use for the steady state problem. So, this is going to be defined as rho, and it of course is a function of x and t, just like the temperature field. Similarly, we are going to define the heat capacity, which we are going to denote by C, and this also in general is a function of space and time. Okay. Please notice that rho as well as C, they are always going to be greater than 0. Okay. So, this is demanded by the physical laws. So, I cannot have a material which has negative density, and of course, I cannot have a material which has negative heat capacity. So, now we can write down the strong form of the problem. So, given F G H U naught as defined above, I am supposed to find a field u, and this field u is a scalar field, it is a temperature field. It depends on x and it depends on time t, and it is such that the spatial domain is omega and the time domain is 0 to t. So, that is what is given for x, it varies in omega and time varies between 0 and t. Notice I have given a open interval here because I already know the initial condition, which of course I am going to specify. So, everything is known about u at t equal to 0. Okay. So, this is of course a real valued function as we said before, and I must specify a set of equations and boundary conditions. Let me write them down. So, the equation is that rho times c times u comma t plus q I comma I, this is equal to f on omega cross 0 to t. So, this is the governing equation, or as we call as the unsteady heat equation. So, this is the time dependent term. So, u comma t, let me write it down for you. U comma t is actually the partial derivative of u with time. Okay. So, it is very similar to u comma x and u comma y. So, that is the heat equation. So, let me just write it down that this is the heat equation, and now along with it there are boundary conditions, the g type and the h type. Let me write them for you. So, u is equal to g on gamma g cross 0 to t. I am also going to have a Neumann type condition. So, that is given as minus q I n I. So, we have seen this before. This is the condition on heat flux. This is going to be equal to h on gamma h cross 0 to t. So, I have given the boundary conditions here. And finally, I would like to specify the initial condition, which we have said is u0. So, that is going to be given like this. So, u at any point x, but at time t equal to 0 is going to be given as u0, which is the initial temperature at every point on the domain, and this is not a function of time, only the left hand side is. Okay. So, this field is given to us, and this is on omega. This here we will refer to as the strong form of the problem. So, just to review for you, what we are saying is that there is a given domain, spatial domain omega. I am interested in time going from 0 to uppercase T. I am to find this temperature field u, which is a real valued function, and to do that I must invoke the balance law. So, this is the heat conduction equation. If you remember q, let me write down q for you. So, recall the heat flux given by the Fourier's law was q is the heat flux which was minus k gradient of u, and in terms of the index notation it was given as qi is minus k I j u comma j. So, this we have seen before. So, that is the heat equation, and then the two boundary conditions. So, the only difference in the boundary conditions are that gamma g and gamma h do not change with time, but these values g and h, they can change with time. So, both of them are time dependent, g and h, and then of course, there is a initial condition about the temperature field.